What's up, traders? Matt from the Trade Brigade here doing a technical analysis on ticker symbol AMRX for Amneal Pharmaceuticals. On the left-hand side, we're looking at the daily time frame, and on the right-hand side, the 30-minute intraday time frame. First things first is we do need to point out that in the extended hour session, there was a positive catalyst that sent the stock higher, and you can clearly see some large green-bodied candles. We will likely be opening on a gap up into tomorrow's session. Do keep in mind a lot can happen between now and 9:30, but this is the general framework that I would use as we start to navigate the open on tomorrow morning. So right now we'll assume that we're opening around 631, and we'll also assume that the high of the overnight session will remain up there towards 750. Shifting the focus over to the daily time frame now to talk about this and how we can actually trade it. Whenever you have a gap up, obviously the first inclination is if the gap starts to fill, where does it fill to? And that's obviously yesterday's high at $5.61. If it moves underneath that, then we're looking at this as probably a next up around 513, 515. Also pretend with me for a second, pretend that extends to the left. Also adding to the data points, we have this support, and then it offered some resistance once we were testing it from the bottom side up. So that would be the downside targets. And quickly flipping over to the trade tab, you can see that this is easy to borrow. So there are shares to short. And if we look at the options chain here, it's probably something I would not try to short via puts simply because the volume is not there. So stick to short shares if you do decide to fade the gap, if that's the opportunity that presents itself. So what would that look like, right? As we know, if we open here, fail to take out the overnight high, trade back down through the open, we're looking for the gap to fill. This is your short entry here, back down through 631. One thing I would encourage you to keep in mind with this particular setup is the distance between our two numbers, the amount of range that's there. Typically, this trade works better if our two numbers, if these two levels are closer together. So if by the time 9:30 rolls around, if for some reason we're opening around 7, that's going to make that trade much more attractive because we essentially have a bigger reward zone and tighter risk, right? If we do something like this, fail to take it out, our entry is now way up here, and the target would be way down there at 561, right? So that's how that would work. Again, as the numbers get closer, it's going to make for a better technical trade in terms of risk versus reward. The next scenario, of course, is the gap and go. Maybe that's the more favorable one if you have a long outlook on the market as a whole. And in that scenario, we're looking for an open here. I would argue, again, because these numbers are so far apart, it would probably have to look something like this. You're going to miss the first move, and that's if you're someone who's risk averse like myself and you like to trade technical setups instead of just jumping in blindly long. I mean, you're not going to miss it if you just smack the button at 9:30. But if you're a reasonable person, you would wait for the move higher. You would wait for consolidation here, look for a bull flag, and then you would take the break into blue sky territories up and over 750 if that's the scenario that presents itself at that point in time. Because it's blue sky territories on something trading sub 10, you're probably looking at 10-cent marks, 25-cent marks, 50-cent marks, whole dollars as resistance overhead. There is no price history that we have up there, so keep that in mind. Those are the two scenarios. That's how I would sort of navigate this one. Again, remembering that the trade does work better if these two numbers get closer together, but we'll deal with that as the bell at 9:30 comes around. If you enjoyed today's video or learned anything new, let me know in the comments section or by giving the video a thumbs up. Don't forget our main channel is linked in the description, and all of that being said, I wish you a green trading week.